Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tanya for those of you that are new here, and I am a watercolor artist. So today we're going to be painting a bird, a whimsical, colorful bird. So I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so to get started, I've got my Arteza watercolor paper, I've got my Winsor Newton watercolors, I've got a pencil, an eraser, my cup of water, and a couple different brushes here. I've got a size 10, a 5, and a 0, so I'll let you know which ones I'm using, and they're the Grumbacher brand. And then right at the end, we're going to be bringing in a little bit of this Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, just for a couple little highlights here and there. All right, so we're gonna lightly sketch out our little bird, and you can Google any image of a bird you want. You do not have to follow along with how I'm positioning my bird or anything. And I'm also gonna make my bird very whimsical, so it's not gonna be any specific bird. It's just gonna be very colorful. So go ahead and use whatever colors you want. All right, so I'm gonna start with his little head and come down on the little back here. His beak. His belly. And let's see, I want to round this out a little bit more up this way. I came in with the arc a little bit too low. And his wing will be here. And you can just kind of work around with the shape, you know, just keep maneuvering until you get a shape that you like. And I'm gonna have him sitting on a branch. So I think his little wing is gonna come out like this, and the little tail. And I like to make chubby little birds, so you don't have to make yours as chubby as mine. And then his little eye will be about there. And then I think I'm going to have the branch coming down this way. So I will extend it off the paper like that. And then I think I want some branches coming up. I'll do those a little bit later. I think I want some like little flowers around him. Maybe like a little cherry blossom tree or something. And let's make another one coming up this way. Okay. And so he's sitting on the branch, so the branch is going to be in front of his little body here because he's sitting on it. So the tail is going to peek out at the bottom, so the branch is going to come out like this, and then his little tail is going to peek out of the branch like that. And then his little body is going to be sitting on the branch, and then you can make his little feet like that. All right. That's about all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna lighten up some of my lines a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna take my, actually I wanna get my bird nice and wet. So I'm gonna take my number 10 paintbrush, and I'm just gonna get his body wet with nice clean water. And I'm gonna go around the wing because I think I want the wing to be a different color. But I'm going to do his head, around his eye. I'm not going over his eye, because I do want to leave a couple little highlights in his eye. And then don't forget his little tail. All right, so I'm going to pick up, again, I'm making my bird really whimsical. So I think I'm just going to pick up some, I really love like greens and blues, and I just combine them just to show you what I'm doing. So I picked up a little bit of my Winsor green blue and a little bit of my Winsor blue green, and I mixed them together, and I got this beautiful aqua color. And I'm just going to start going in around his body, let it bleed wherever it wants. That's the beauty of watercolor. Just let it just do its thing. I'm going to go around his little wing. And if you want to move to a smaller brush, you definitely can. I've got control over the number 10 here, so I feel okay with it right now. But if you feel like you don't have much control over a big brush like that, just move down a couple sizes. All right, and I don't want to forget about his little tail. It's bleeding off the page there. And I think I want to bring in a little bit more of that green right in here. I'm just going to drop in a little bit of green, put a little bit on his tail, and clean up your edges. There. I want a nice big belly on my bird. And I'm going to put some green on his head too. All right. I think with this bird, I'm going to make a black beak, not a yellowish orange beak, but you could do whatever color beak you want. I'm just going to let that bleed in. So I've got my two colors there, just kind of meshing together. And now I'm going to start on my wing. And I think I'm going to do more of a yellow, just so the wing stands out a little bit. So I'm just going in with some nice clean water. I still do have a little bit of green on my brush here, totally fine. Just means my yellow will turn a little bit more limey. And right now I'm not bumping up where I just put the water. I'm not bumping it up to the body yet. I'm leaving a little bit of an empty spot there so the water doesn't mesh and bleed into each other at this point. It will eventually, but I don't really want it to at this point. I'm just picking up, I think it's a cad yellow. And I'm just gonna go around, and now I can go ahead and bump it up. I just didn't want it to bump up right away. So see how that limey green is starting to develop, where the blue and the green and the yellow are meeting? Really pretty. I might even drag a little of that down on the wing over here. That's really pretty. I'm just gonna dab a little bit on his head because I love that limey green color. Just gonna dab a little bit around his eye. Cute. Bring a little bit down on his tail. There. All right, so what I'm gonna do while we're waiting for his little body to dry is I'm gonna go ahead and wet the branch. And I'm not gonna do the little branches, the smaller ones coming out yet, but I'm just gonna wet the main one that he's sitting on. And I'm gonna pick up any shade of brown that I have and a little bit of black because I want it to be a little bit of a darker brown. And I'm not even mixing it on my palette at this point. I am just mixing it right on the paper. I'm just alternating between brown and black on my brush. So I'm not getting a solid dark brown. I just want to see the variation of it. So I'm dropping both of them on the paper separately. And it's okay if it starts bleeding in to my little tail here, that's fine. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and dry this because I don't want too much of that branch bleeding onto my bird. And I didn't leave any room here for his little claws. If you want to go around his little claws, you definitely can. I think I'm just gonna bring in a little of that bleed-proof white at the end. But if you wanna sit there and just go around all his little claws, you could do that too. I'm gonna move to my size 0 brush now, and I'm gonna do the same colors. And I want these branches to be kind of delicate. So I'm gonna have flowers and stuff coming. And even if you wanna do like a broken up line like this, that's fine too. I just want some flowers on these branches. Okay, if you wanna add a little bit of black where the two meet here, that little intersection, just so it looks like it's shadowed a little bit. And you could even bring up a little bit of that black or Payne's gray, whatever color you're using, even onto the branches, just to crispen them up a little bit. But again, it's just kind of a little bit of a broken up line, not too much. All right, I'm gonna repeat that on all my branches. So I'm gonna bring in a little bit of his, the feathers on the wing here, and I'm gonna still use my size 0. And let's go in with that kind of bluish color we were using on his body. Just gonna kind of come up again with a delicate broken line and just make the little pattern of the wings. So you're just gonna kind of come in with a little bit of an arch like that and then come up a little bit. Make sure you get that little arch at the end there. It's where the little wings end. You could do as many as you want. I think I'm gonna just do 4. Like that. Okay. And then I'm gonna come in with a little bit of black for his eyes. Now remember, you're gonna wanna leave a little bit of a highlight somewhere. We can always fix that with a little bit of that bleed-proof white later, but just try and leave as much highlight as you want. Might leave a little circle in the middle, maybe a little bit on the ends here, around the edge. Close it in a little bit. And I'm gonna come in on his little beak too. So we're just gonna kind of arc that little beak a little bit here. And you can leave a highlight. I think I'm gonna do like a little design on my bird's head here with the black. I think that might be pretty. I'm just gonna turn my page here a little bit and maybe just add a couple little broken up lines on his head, like that. And even if you wanna do, I've seen some birds with this nice thick line coming right through their eye. You could even just thicken up that line a little bit right there. Looks pretty. It's almost like they've got a little mask on. There. Cute. I actually think I want his head to be a nice green, like a dark emerald green. So let's bring in a little bit more of that emerald green. Maybe I should have done this before I did the black lines, but totally fine. Just maneuver that paint around. And I'm gonna bring a little bit down on his body. Oh, that's so cute with the little green head. We have so many birds. I've got a lot of bird feeders in my yard. And there's so many different birds that have been coming around. All right, I'm just gonna drag that down a little bit. I'm gonna take a bigger brush and just kind of blend that in a little bit. There. All right, so now I'm gonna go over my lines a little bit that I had just done. And I'm just gonna kind of fade them out just a little bit. Just go over them and just so they're not that stark. You want them there, but you don't want them to stand out too much. So I'm just adding a little bit of water and I'm bleeding them out a little bit. There. And actually, I think I'm gonna pull in a little bit more of that teal color under his wing. Oh, I went in really dark with that. I did not need to go that dark, but that's okay. I did it, and now I cleaned off my brush, and I'm gonna just blend it out. And you can close up that little white line that you got going on down here where we were trying to separate his little body from the branch. You can go ahead and just close that up. I have so much paint on my paper right there. I got a little too much, so I'm just moving it around. You could do that. If you don't want to pick up your paint and wipe it off on the paper towel, you just want to move it around, you could definitely do that. You get a nice effect there too. But I still want his body to be a little bit lighter right here in the belly area. So I'm gonna kind of leave that nice and not white, but a lighter blue. And I'm just going in with my paper towel and I'm just giving it some texture. If your paint is still wet, you can just gently pounce it and give it a little bit of texture with the paper towel. See, I just lifted up all that blue that was there, but I gave it some nice texture. All right, I'm gonna go in and just smooth out where his little wing is. Okay. Now I'm gonna move back to my size 0. I'm gonna pull up some black again. You can pull up any color you want, but I'm just gonna do some like broken up little lines to give my branch a little bit of texture. And you can add as much as you want. I think I'm gonna move back to my larger one, my larger brush, so I can pick up a little more black under his body here, like it's a shadow. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start making some of the flowers that I wanted on the branches. You could pick up any color you want. I think I'm just gonna stick with like blues, reds, pinks. You can go ahead and wet your page first if you want to, you know, very splotchy because you want some of the white peeking through from the paper. Or you could just go in and just start dabbing it on the dry paper, whichever way you prefer. Doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna add a little bit more water to that so it blends a little bit better. Pick up my pink, do the same thing on all my branches. I think I'm gonna pick up a little bit of blue so it makes a little bit more of this purpley color. And I'm just going in and I'm dabbing it around my little branches here. Remember to leave some white space because you want it to be kind of an airy tree, not too cluttered, not too clustered with all your little flowers. I'm gonna drop in a little bit of my red just so it pops a little bit off the page here. If you follow my channel, you know that I love color. My paintings are very bright and whimsical. I just finished an owl. I think it was last week's video, and it was a gorgeous owl. So if you haven't seen that yet, you should go back and look at that video. It was really, really pretty. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and dry this, and then we're just gonna add some more details. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and crispen up with a little bit of my black, just under his wing here a little bit. Broken up line again. I just wanted to find that little wing again. Maybe I'll bring a little bit of the black up on the wing a little bit like that, the feathers. And I think I want a little bit more pattern on his head here. Like that. Clean up his eye a little bit. If you see that something kind of bled a little bit too much and you're not happy with it, just go ahead and crispen up your lines a little bit. Like that. And then his beak looks a little weird to me, so I'm gonna fix this up here. There, just connect it to his head a little bit more. There, that's better. I could even bring some of that black down a little bit, like it's a little mask. Cute. Very cute. All right, I am going to add a little bit more depth to my flowers. So I'm just pulling in the same colors that I had already. My pink and blue and red. Just add a little bit more. The more layers you give it, it just looks a little bit more realistic, like it's got more depth to it. It's just an easy little fix. There, see how that just made a lot more depth? I just added a little bit of pink. I'm gonna do the same thing with my red. Pretty. And I think I want to bring in my watercolor brush pens. I've used these in a lot of videos. I love using these. So I picked out some colors of my bird here. I just picked out a yellow and a couple different greens and a black. I think I'm gonna take the yellow and I'm just gonna go over his wing a little bit, just to pop it out a little bit more. And what you could do is you could just dry brush your marker right on your page to leave some kind of texture, or, which is really nice, I like that because I'm going to leave a lot of texture on his belly area in a minute. But if you want to, you could just take a little water on your brush and blend it out. If you want a little bit more of the smooth look. So that's the smooth look, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do in a second here. I'm going to take this kind of teal color and I'm just going to dry brush his belly, kind of going in streaks going down. And I'm not sure you can see that on video, all that texture, that beautiful texture I'm getting. I love it. You can add as much as you want. So my paper is dry and my marker, I'm just going on with straight marker. I'm gonna blend that in a little bit, but I do wanna leave some of that texture. And let's see, I picked up, oh, you know what I forgot to do was my leaves. Ooh, how did I forget that? All right, so let's go ahead and pick up a green. I think I'm picking up a sap green right now. And I'm just gonna put in some leaves. Totally forgot to put in my leaves. And they're gonna be more just kind of towards the bottom. You can leave a little white space if you want. You can close it up if you want. And let's have one coming out this way. And maybe one here. Just kind of adds a little bit of extra color to your painting. And I don't think I need a second one on that branch. I think that's good. All right, and if you want to add a little bit of yellow to it, make it a little bit more limey, you can drop in a little bit of yellow. If you want it to be a little bit darker, you can drop in a little bit of a, like more of a green, like a darker green. All right, I'm gonna do some of that texture on the bottom of his wing too. Just picking up the same marker that I did his belly. And I'm just gonna bring in some texture here. There. And I am gonna bring in a little bit more green. I want his head to be just a little bit of a brighter green. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start bringing those little lines coming down with my marker, just like that. So it looks like it's little feathers coming down on his body, a little fur. I'm going to blend that in a little bit. Take a clean brush, just water, and I'm going to blend that in. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna dry him and then we're gonna add a little bit of bleed-proof white, maybe to his beak and his eyes and then the little claws. And then I think I'm gonna come in with a little bit of a darker green for the leaves. So we're almost done. Okay, so I'm using this little thing of bleed-proof white. Again, it's Dr. P.H. Martin. And I'm gonna go ahead and use a brush, a little brush that I'm not really, I mean, I care about all my brushes, but this is not a good brush. This is a brush that can take a little bit of abuse. It is a cheaper brush. So I'm putting my Grumbacher brushes away and I'm using this one just for my bleed-proof white, just in case that it doesn't clean up as well as I want it to. I do not want to ruin my good brushes. All right, so I'm taking a little bit of that white and I'm just gonna bring in a couple little highlights on his eyes, maybe another little highlight on the beak. Okay, and I want to make his little claws. And we can always come in with some black in a minute. If this is too white for you, it's basically just giving you back the white of the paper. So I'm just going to use a little bit of that. And then I think I want to put a couple little highlights on his wings here too. So I'm just gonna kind of come up with, again, with just a broken up line, and I'm giving it texture. Again, it's giving, if you come in with a dry brush, it's giving you the texture that watercolor marker did on the dry paper. And then I'm just gonna bring it down like this, just to kind of give it the illusion of the feathers. So I'm just gonna drag it. See how I'm dragging my dry brush? And I'm just giving it some texture, like that. And I think I want a little bit of white, maybe more on his head, just to lighten up his head a little bit. I think that's it for the bleed proof white. Wash off your brush right away. Okay, always make sure when you're done with your bleed proof white, you put the cap on right away. You don't want this stuff drying out. It dries out fast, and not only that, this little jar is kind of expensive, so you don't want to waste it. All right, I am gonna wait for that to dry. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and blow dry it, and then I think I'm gonna cover up a little bit. I did a little too much white, so I'm gonna go ahead and then recover it up, and then along with his little claws. So I could go ahead, actually, you could take your black watercolor brush marker, you could take the black that you were using at the beginning, whatever you want. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just kind of crispen up a little bit and cover up a little bit. I did a little too many highlights. You can go right over this stuff. There, that's better. Just a little bit too much white. And then let's cover up a little bit of the highlight on his eye too. So you can always go back and forth. This bleed proof white kind of saves you from a lot of little oops marks. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put a little black. I'm gonna leave a little bit of the bleed proof white showing so it looks like a little highlight on his claws, but for the most part, I am covering it up. There. You know what, I think, do I wanna come down with the feathers? Yeah, I think I'm gonna come down with some yellow. Just a little bit of yellow, see what happens here. So I'm putting the yellow over my green, which is gonna probably turn lime, which is totally fine. I just wanna give a little bit more dimension, like from his body to his little head. There, just kind of pops his head a little bit more. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit more of a greenish color to the leaves. Oops, too much. Wipe off my brush. Just gonna dab that on here and there. A little too much on this one. There. So cute. He's really, really cute. All right, I think I'm gonna just quickly just change something on his head here. I think I'm gonna add a little bit more green to his head. Cover up some of that, the black. And actually my bleed proof white where I went over it, it's gonna kind of mix in a little bit and give me this cloudy look. So I'm experimenting right now, and I actually like it. So I got rid of some of those lines. So it mixed in my watercolor, it mixed in my bleed proof white. I'm gonna come around his little wing again, just to kind of highlight that. Come down his wing a little bit. Give it a little texture. There, now I'm feeling it. You just have to feel your painting. If something just doesn't feel right, go ahead and fix it. Super, super cute. Okay, so one more thing I wanted to show you at the very, very end of my painting. I went in and I just softened up my line a little bit, just with clean water. I went over the edge of my bird and I let him bleed out into the white page. So if you want to give your paintings just a little bit of a glow, just take some water, clean water, and go over the edge of your painting and let it bleed out into the white page. If you don't like this look, then definitely don't do it. I just wanted to add a little extra dimension to my bird. I'm going to do the same thing to the wing, the tail. Just let it bleed out a little bit into that white paper. There. Just a little bit. You don't want a big thick line, but just a little bit. There. it just gives it a little bit of an extra dimension. There you go. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you liked it and learned a little something. And if you did like it, please give me a thumbs up, and you can make a comment in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe if you want more videos like this one. Have a great day. Bye.